Do I need a degree to become a crime scene cleaner? I get this question a lot from you guys, and I'm telling you right now that you absolutely do not need a degree to get into this field. As a matter of fact, most jobs like this don't require a $50,000 degree, and the earning potential is right up there with most college graduates. I always wish I had known about the skilled trades when I was in high school, because there are some amazing careers that pay super well, like these operating engineers, for example. I seriously recommend considering the trades and getting started with Build Oregon. You just might find the career of your dreams.
All right. Yeah, my name's Obi. I came from Washington State. I've been working since I was 14. I started at Burger King, and then I went to work for the mill after high school. Was there for 6 years, and I wanted to do something different than just operate machinery. So I applied for this HVAC position, and that's where I ended up at.
So you picked the trade?
I picked the trade, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Isaiah?
Hello, my name's Isaiah. I work for Southern Oregon Electric. I'm a first-year apprentice. How I got here was, well, let's see. I've been working since 10 with my grandfather. He was a landscaper. And I've been working with him all in the summers, weekends, until I was like 16. Then I worked with my grandmother at a hotel in Ashland. And then my neighbor, surprisingly, is my boss now, but he was offered me a job at around 17, and then the Almeda fire happened. So it was kind of weird, but after a year later, he offered me the job again, and here I am.
So the trades picked you.
Yep.
Emily.
Hello. I'm Emily. I'm a first-year sheet metal apprentice. I work for Metal Masters. I was born and raised in the Valley. I am 27, so I've tried a handful of careers over the years, and I finally landed in the trades. I picked the trades because I wanted to find something that I could use my brain and my body equally, and the trades offered that for me, so here we are.
Great. Jeremy?
Well, I'm Jeremy, and I am in my 30s, so I actually started, I'm a fifth-year apprentice, so just finishing up, and I basically got started doing a lot of manufacturing. I worked for the Forest Service. I went into firefighting. I went into law enforcement. I have a degree in criminology, and so I tried everything that I wanted to do, and I just decided I wanted a different career path, and finally decided electrical sounded good. I'd done some electrical manufacturing, and I always enjoyed it. So I kind of went into that path. My uncle was a lineman for PG&E in California, and I just decided I was going to stick with it, and I'm glad I did.
I'm confused. Did they pick you or did you pick them?
A little bit of both.
Okay. That's what it sounds like.
Yep.
Madison. I grew up around the trades. So my dad was in construction, so I spent a lot of time doing that. And most of high school, I was back and forth between, no, I'm going to go to college. No, I'm going to go to a trade. And decided going to college was just not going to be what I wanted to do. Couldn't figure out something that I wanted to do with that. But I knew that I wanted to go into the trades. So then I got into the pre-apprenticeship.
I left one part out. The reason I really went to college was to play pro baseball.
Hi, my name's Cody. I'm a fifth-year plumbing apprentice. I'm at the end of my apprenticeship. I started off as a butcher, actually. If you don't know history, you're destined to repeat it. I'm a firm believer in that. That was pounded into me. Benjamin Franklin said, "Thou that hath no trade, hath no estate." I grew up also in as a son of a plumber, and I ran from it. I did not want to do it. I did everything I could, but I knew a trade was, it was for me. I knew college was not for me. Not that I love school now. I wish I would have applied myself more, but finished the butcher apprenticeship, and it wasn't where I wanted to be monetarily. And I looked into all the trades, mechanical especially, because these trades right here make a building first world. You put a building up, it doesn't have electrical, plumbing, or AC, it's a hut. Yeah. And it was between electrical and plumbing, and it was part of the family trade. And so it kind of picked me, but I chose it. So
It usually is
yeah.
that moment. So really our goal today is to expose the listeners and the teachers that are listening and maybe listening in a couple of weeks on what is it like to go through the apprentice program? What does it take? And from your perspective, the motivation to get there, because as an industry, and I'm talking the construction industry, we're horrible marketers. Okay, we have a deficit of 2 decades where have not been focusing on the trades, besides the licensed trades. Licensed trades have been doing a pretty good job of that for a long time. But masons, carpenters, I mean, it's just a mess out there, and it's going to continue to be a mess until schools like RCC and community colleges around the nation get together and say, hey, let's make a difference. But thank you. So that your perspective on really how do we market to kids, that's really important, because the universities aren't doing a really great job at that either, and they need help. So let's start out. These questions that we're going to ask is kind of broken up in 2 categories. One is like your pathway to apprenticeship, or pre-apprentice, and then your experience during the apprenticeship. So we'll start with the pathways first. And Cody, I'll work it back so we stay in some sort of order here. But so what skills in high school did you learn that helped you to, guide you toward the apprenticeship that you're in right now?
The 3 major ones would be reading, writing, and arithmetic. I mean, I use math every day. Science.
Give the listeners an example.
So, for example, the number one thing that every plumber does is a 45-degree offset. So your constant is 1.414, times that by your offset. So if you're running a water line and you hit a column and you got a 45 around it, you have a 10-inch offset, you times that by 1.414. So it's 14 inches, 14 1/8 technically. And then you deduct your fittings. There's one offset, but you just did addition, subtraction, multiplication just in that one deal. And if you have a different plane where it's not on the same plane, you have to do a rolling offset. There's algebra. We do that constantly. If you're doing pipe fitting and you're welding, there's trigonometry. So, the whole deal where we're in high school math, and when am I ever going to apply this? Yeah, anybody that's in some sort of field like this, you use it every day.
That's a good follow-up question, because in high school, did you have the opportunity to apply the math in real world situations like this?
Yeah, I was homeschooled, so I never actually went to high school.
So your teacher always got 4.0 marks?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, I was a little biased, but yeah. And then the science would, because if you don't know how to read the plans, you don't know how to write, especially as a foreman, if you can't write down what you want your crew to do. And then math is a major deal. And then science, the science I would say is not necessarily a priority, but it helps me to understand it. If you understand why the science behind it, it helps me for it to stick. Why do we have to run a trap arm out? Why can we only go that far? Why do we have to put a vent there? Why do we have to, put a thrust block because of the water pressure? And so I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it helps me personally. But I know people where they don't need to know the silence. They read it and it sticks. So
Becomes human nature. All right, Madison, it's your turn now. What were the skills that you learned in high school that you really point to that helped you in your apprenticeship? Right?
For me, so because I haven't actually, the pre-apprenticeship, I do use like some of the math, some of the science, but I haven't gotten, like, he'll be able to tell you, I'm sure, a lot more than I could of how that is actually used.
Yeah, right.
But for me, I had a construction class in high school. So getting some of those, I mean, for some people, some of those basic skills can be very beneficial for anything. Like, I got a shop job. Knowing those skills, having those skills helps right there. And then it also transfers over to once I go into the apprenticeship.
Jeremy?
Yeah. So I use the math daily. It's whether you're doing the pipe and doing offsets or anything like that, or just adding up, I need this many amps for this, I need this many amps for this, and just doing basic calculations for a house. Or, when you actually start getting into 3-phase and some more commercial work, you use it frequently. And because material is not cheap, you want to get it right the first time.
It's a little extra, of course.
Yeah, I mean, in the apprenticeship, you learn basically the basics of it. But there's a lot of field application that you do after you actually get out there and start installing conduit that, when you're talking about multiple planes, rolling offsets, when you're talking about junction boxes, and I need to run this here, but I need this much pipe to do it. I need to size it for this many wires. And then these wires can carry this many amps. But if I put too many in there, I have to do deductions. It's a lot of constant thinking, constant math. So, I mean, the math, the science, trigonometry, geometry, all of that plays into it heavily. But the other part is understanding the code. So you have to learn how to read it and understand it, comprehend it, and then be able to replicate it and explain it to others so that they can actually do what is required. So basically everything you learn in high school, you just keep building on through the entire apprenticeship until you can actually get out to the point and do it on your own.
One of my best superintendents, who's now retired, was an English major. And, he was just so soft-spoken as you would explain it versus, the old days, if you weren't getting chewed out, you felt like something was wrong. Of course, that never happens. Emily, tell us your experience there on.
Certainly. So absolutely with what they're saying, math is super important, lots of geometry. I'm a sheet metal worker, so we're running lengths of ducts across entire buildings, and we have to find like the path of least resistance using material efficiently. Calculating offsets, all that good stuff. But also, I felt like a class that was really valuable for me in high school that doesn't necessarily relate to the trade, but it kind of relates to how I interact with my coworkers, was leadership. I took a leadership class in high school, and I feel like that was really beneficial for me to be able to, speak up and speak my mind and hold my own with these guys. And yeah, I think that was really beneficial for me.
I've sent half of my workforce through leadership training.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple things happen when they come back. They either quit, it's too much for them,
Right.
or they've got a list of goals of what they want.
Exactly.
Very important. Isaiah.
Exactly what he said. He has more experience than I do, but a lot of math. For this first year, I've just been using a lot of math, just pure math. So thank God I took a lot of math in high school. Yeah, basically math for what I've been doing.
Obi?
I agree with them. Math. You gotta adding, subtracting, dividing. That's kind of what you need in this trade. I mean, it's one of the things where learning how to read a blueprint. I mean, if a blueprint says it's a 1/4 inch scale, I mean, what is a 1/4 inch? Do you know how to read a tape measure? I mean, it's one of those things where
tape measure can be a calculator.
It's yeah, you just add the little lines. But yeah, that's one of the things that doing something like this, it really helps.
Okay, so new question. So what advice would you give teachers in high school, to, I guess, to make the process of going into pre-apprentice or apprenticeship a little easier for future students? And or what advice would you give them?
Show students how it could be applied in the real world. For example, the tape measure, where would you use it? I mean, if you're building a house or you're trying to, put two pieces of wood together, I mean, what is the mathematical equation that you got to do to actually be able to do something,
Measure twice.
Yes, yes.
How about you, Isaiah?
Exactly what he said. Again, yeah, apply it more to the real world, or depending on the student. Some students want to do some trades, some students really don't. So like pick and choose, but really it should be on the student to choose what they really want, I would think, yeah.
You said something interesting, the ones that want to work. I mean, you want. I mean, if you look at percentage of your high school class when you were in there, how many of them wanted to really go out and explore the job market?
Not very many.
Because I mean, we've gone to job fairs just recently, and they come by and check the box, but maybe 5 to 10% are really asking a question about what we do and how much money can you make a living wage, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
that leads into my next question, and I'm going to switch gears with you a little bit here. So, what do you think high schools could do better to support, pursuing a career in the trades?
For me, when I was in high school, the trades were never even brought up as an option. It was always, you get great grades.
Right?
Exactly. You get great grades, you're going to go to college. Like, not like, do you want to go to college? It was, you're going to college. And I tried that, didn't work out for me. So just like making it more known that it's an option, promoting technical arts classes more, and like letting people know that it's okay to try, even if you don't love it. Like, just get your foot in the water and see how it goes. You don't have to make any concrete decisions, just try it.
Yeah, good advice. Jeremy?
Yeah, I would agree that I grew up in Reading, so my high school offered trade classes on a very limited scale, but they didn't have any actual interaction from contractors or anything so where you could actually go out and be at a job or see how things worked. So you were limited to, if you knew somebody, you could find out, but it really wasn't something that was pushed in the schools. It was all go to college, get good grades, take the AP classes and do all that. But it's just gearing you for going on for more school, which I ended up doing. But at the same time, had I known that the trades were a viable option where you don't come out with all the debt, you don't have to have, all these years sunk into something that you might not even go do, like me. I completely shifted gears. So knowing that there were more options out there, that you can make a living wage, that you can, actually go out and just go straight to work or get into a pre-apprenticeship program. I mean, just having contractors actually working with the schools, I think would be beneficial.
You think about where all of you are at right now and the disaster, scarcity that we have in the United States. There's plus or minus 400,000 people leaving the industry, whether it's through retirement or attrition, whatever you want to call it. And there's about 200,000 coming in, give or take. And you guys are sitting in the catbird seat. Okay, you're going to have incredible, your opportunities got to be defined. You're not going to be able to have the pick of the litter, but in some cases you are. And so that's the message that needs to go out, I think, to students. Is like, really, what is the opportunity here? Not to lead the conversation here a little bit, but my nephew just got married and he just got out of med school. And his wife just got out of med school, and they're just starting their job. And they're that they're getting about 90 grand a year, just starting out. And they're both about $500,000 in debt each. It's like, wow. I mean, I remember my debt was like $30,000. I was like, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so well, I didn't follow up with you, Madison, didn't I? So what advice would you give teachers?
Expose them. I graduated in 2021, so I probably have the most recent in high school experience. And there were people who were like, yeah, trade's cool, go into it if you want to, but they never actually like went into depth with you about it. You had to go and find out on your own. It was, okay, go to college. But then I want to do this. And it's like, okay, well, you can still go to college and still somewhat lean towards that, but you have to do all this other stuff first. So they don't really give kids the option. Let them know that they can do that and they can take different paths to get there, because there are ways to do it through college and there's ways to do it outside of it.
Okay. And that's part of what AGC has been doing for 8-9 years, is that teacher externship. And we got a national award for it a couple of years ago, but it started small, but now COVID-19 kind of hurt us a little bit, like everything else out there. But we've got a couple of hundred teachers who are going to that, exposing them to what the back end of construction is. So it just takes time. And like going back, it's going to be decades before we really ramp up. Cody, how about you? What advice would you give to teachers and counselors?
Teach the foundation, which is the three, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I'm torn because Oregon now last year made it where it's no longer mandatory. And as a Oregonian, I'm a little torn on that. But on the other side, that next day, it made me more valuable. So how you said being in the catbird seat, there's so many. I'm one of the youngest ones by a long shot on the job site, and I'm almost turned out. So when I get my card, there's a 20-year gap between me and the next guy.
Yeah.
And, the trade has not changed. So you still need to know X amount. So when you take those requirements away, you're taking, how do I word this? You're taking the person coming into it, you're taking opportunity from them, I guess, in a sense. And we did a job at OIT, and they had a sign that said, our average graduate makes $64,000 a year. I have no idea what their average debt is, but I was making 80 and I was a 4th period apprentice. So, and I was halfway through it. So, and if you were to show actually how well people live in the trades, and I'm not talking everybody, but I'm talking, there's bad apples everywhere. But I'm a 4th generation plumber. The trades have been amazing to my family. You look at what we were able to do as a kid, my mom was a stay-at-home mom because she chose to be, not because, she didn't have to go get a job, even if she wanted to. It was that opportunity was there because of the trade. And I don't think a lot of people know that on top of that, where it's, you don't have to go into debt. I was not college material. I know I'm not dumb, but college was not for me. Now that I've been in school now for the last 5 years, I love it, but college was not for me. I was not somebody where it clicked. I can read a book and it was just downloaded into me, but I love working with my hands. I can go out and build something and I can make great money doing it.
Was that like a near moment when you saw that 64K design?
No, it was just, I'm a plumber. Somebody comes up to me and goes, "What do you do?" I'm a plumber. They think I'm working on I'm chasing turds, basically. And the reality though is I'm the one laughing because I make a lot of money for I've only been in the trade for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I make a lot of money considering you go to any other job with no college degree, you need a high school diploma with a C average or a GED that shows you have an equivalent to a C, and you can make over $100,000 inside of 5 years. I mean, it's very doable. And like you said, with limited people going into it, there's so much opportunity. It's crazy.
So I'm gonna go back to marketing. Now, here's my theory is that most of you at this table don't pick up the Mail Tribune and look at the classified ads. You don't go online a little bit, but you don't go to, reading boards and say, oh, what's available here at the college? What would be the best way to market young people? How would you go about it to get them into the trades? Start with you. Going.
Jeez, that's a tough one. Right now, the easiest thing is putting it everywhere. I mean, social media, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, showing that the opportunity is there. I would say something like that. That's actually the reason I am where I am right now is because of my boss put a ad on Facebook, and I actually clicked on the job description, and I liked it, and I asked for an interview. So I would say that something like that, it's always nice, it's an easy access for people to just go in and see something, instead of going into just Indeed and just looking at all these jobs. Right. And over here, I mean, you could just see it. I mean, you could just see everything. So I would say that's a good one.
I would say put it all over social media, like you said. Just what we watched before we started on TikTok. A lot of kids are on TikTok. Just put tons of videos of each trade. Yeah. And kids get to see what they like, what these people are doing, and they're making a lot of money. It's like a no-brainer.
That was going to be what I was going to say as well. TikTok, that's actually like part of how I started getting interested in the trades was like home improvement videos started coming up on my feed, and like the more you like it, the more similar videos come up. And so I was all of a sudden getting like flooring videos and then ductwork, and I was like, there's ductwork on TikTok, and I was like, I really like this. Yeah, I think that's a really good way to get exposure and put it in accessible hands.
Okay. Jeremy?
I'm actually not on social media, so that wouldn't help me at all. But, I think it's about, yeah. I think it's just a matter of showing what you actually can do. Also, I was looking at jobs in the electrical field, and one of them was working on castles in Ireland. That's an option for people. I mean, you can go and work in other countries. You're not limited to just what's in your area. I mean, our apprenticeship, we get California electrical license as well as the Oregon license, which is reciprocal with a bunch of other states. So the fact that you get your license, you go into a trade, I mean, you can go just about anywhere. So I think just showing that there's opportunities beyond just being in one location, and you're not settling for what job is available where you are.
Just don't go to third world countries because pay scale is a little different.
It's a little different, yeah. Even in Ireland, it was a lot different. But there's a lot of opportunity to go and do different things.
All right. Okay. So what would you recommend?
Well, I'll tell you what, first thing I do when I pick up my phone, social media, 100%. So that is definitely a really good way. But it's also the fact that when people talk about trades, they think guts and just guts. They don't think about the glory with it. So showing what can become of that rather than just hearing about all the bad, because there is a lot of negative around the trades. So marketing on the good of it too, would be very beneficial.
We're going to get into a little bit of that. But how about yourself?
I am not on social media like Jeremy, so that would not that would have not impacted me. But I would say, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to school fairs and stuff like that. I would say county fairs, state fairs. I mean, you get a lot of ranch kids, they already have a lot of that knowledge as well, as far as working with their hands, you know, just show them the right way to do it and that they can make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, and talking about, you know, when you advertise, you know, a big part of construction, in my opinion, is the pride of the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys speak to that a little bit about what that makes you feel like when the job is done or you completed your phase?
It feels good. I mean, look at what I created, you know, start from the ground, you know, on a big job, you know, you start doing the underground, run all your stuff into the slab, typically on a commercial job. And then you go do top out, you run everything up in the walls and go through the roof. And then after that, you do your finish. And, you know, depending on the application, I mean, geez, you could do all sorts of stuff, but I mean, the world's your oyster, really. I mean, there's nothing, but it's cool to watch a job come together and finish it and take pride in your work. And
Anybody else got anything to add to that?
Yeah. For me, part of it is like community involvement. I worked on Asante. We remodeled the imaging center, and just the idea that, like, you know, nice. when people are in there getting their images, like I played a part in helping them be comfortable with the AC going or the heat going, you know, like just making sure that like my community members are taken care of is important to me.
For me, it's more of a proving people wrong. I will, be up doing something in the panel shop and someone will come up, oh, are you sure you can do that? Do you know how to do that? Well, I'm doing it. So then I finish it. Test it, it works, it's good. And then you want to go see what I did? So that's where it is for me.
Anybody else?
I mean, I've gotten to the point where I've been doing this for a few years now, and my wife is annoyed to drive around with me because everywhere I go, oh, I worked on that one. I did that one too. Oh, you see those lights over there?
Always say that.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a huge sense of pride in what you do, knowing that you started a project or you finished a project or you fixed a problem someone was having, and just being able to, I mean, make people comfortable and happy with their homes or their businesses so that they are thriving because of what you did. There's a huge sense of pride in that.
Okay, I definitely agree. Talked about this or disinformation that I think is out there that's really prevalent is women in construction. When I was president of AGC, there was a report that came out about how prejudiced we were, and, you know, people of color couldn't be in it, women couldn't be in it. What's been your exposure, you know, during the apprenticeship and your current employment? You touched on it a little bit, but is that really out there? Or is it something that, like you said, people like to bring up negative things before they bring up positive things? I personally don't see it. I'm going to tell you that right now. My dad used to have that famous saying, he said, "We don't care if you're purple." And Emily, he would have loved you. We just want you to work. And we don't care, you know, what your background is. I mean, can you positively impact that job site for a day? But do you see anything else that's out there? I mean, because if not, we got to go back to the drawing board. Coming.
Oh, I definitely see some stuff and I hear some stuff and then I prove them wrong. And I also know if I hear some stuff and if I can't fix the issue that is coming from another person, I have a whole line of guys behind me that will. So it doesn't happen a lot, but there are a few that will make a comment or they'll just little stuff. But
think about the scarcity, back to that point.
Mhm.
What's the largest growth that the industry could take on is bringing on women in construction. 'Cause
do
you
some
can't
good
do more
too.
than 1.5% of the trades, right?
Yeah.
And, but, we need to touch base with young women in their 6th grade. Or
Yeah.
something, it's got to be exposed.
Opening it up more.
How about you, Emily? Anything else that you want to add to that?
I was just going to say that I feel like very supported by my company, and having a whole crew of guys behind me if there is ever any crude comments or anything. And that it's been done before. Women took over the trades, when the wars were going on, and I don't know how we bring it back, but it's we've already proved that we can and we should. I don't know how to open it up more.
Yeah, it's time. It takes time, but it also, we need people like RCC and other community college and high schools and grade schools to, reinforce that point.
Yeah.
All right, let's get off that subject. So, what's the best thing you like about the apprenticeships? Right. Start with you.
The knowledge I get is awesome. It's just every day something different. Going to class, it's just every day you're learning something different, and you could apply it to the next day.
Did you have any preconceived notions going into meaning that you were anything negative going into, or was it all a positive experience?
It was always a positive for me. It just I was always open to whatever was gonna get thrown at me. So I went to RCC right out of high school, so I kind of had that a little bit of that school in the background, but it wasn't enough. So when I came back to school, it was nice for me. So
what's most challenging about the apprenticeship that you're in?
For me, it's that 1 week we're in one chapter, and then the next week we jump to another chapter of the book, and you're just barely starting to get the grasp on something, a certain subject.
So is that seat time?
It's that seat time. You're just barely getting to know something, and then they switch it on you. But it's nice at the same time because you get to learn a lot.
I can only share with you it gets worse. So let's go on to you. What's the best thing you like about it? What's the most challenging?
I like that we get to go to school and work at the same time. I don't like sitting in a seat for very long periods of time. I like to be hands-on. It's nice to learn the science behind all that we're doing, but when we're in the job site and actually learning, it's the best thing for me. The most challenging thing is what he said. We're in one chapter 1 week, and then we go somewhere else the next week. I don't like that, but it's all right. I can get through it.
Kind of expanding on what they said, I really appreciate that there is a little bit of studying, and the drawing side of things for now in the first year. But basically it's expanding on what I've already learned in the field. There's so much that I've been able to do in the almost year that I've been with my company, that I didn't really understand the why of why we do this way, why we do this that way. Class has really helped with the why and makes sense and ties everything together.
You mentioned drawing. Did you start out manually drawing, or was it all CAD?
We're still manually drawing. We'll probably be manually drawing till year 4.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
You can't figure out how to use a computer. In my opinion.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I would say the best thing about school is that, you're just building on your knowledge and everything you learn in the field. I mean, after you get to a certain point, you can see where it all applies. I think the hardest part is in the first year or two where you don't actually have the field experience. You're not out doing it. So you're just kind of learning stuff that you might not even be doing at the time. But I personally go down a lot of rabbit holes, and, I start learning about something in school, and then I want to follow up with it. I want to learn more. So I spend a lot of time throughout the week looking up things that I don't know, so that when I come to class, I can ask about it. And if I don't understand it, I can get help from somebody who knows more than I do. Because there's always people who know more than you do. So.
Thanks. Right. Madison?
My take on it is a little bit differently because for me, it's kind of like with the pre-apprentice class, it's more of a people are in there deciding if that's what they want to do. So it's a really good way to expose yourself and think, oh yeah, I really want to do this before you get like halfway through your first year and you're like, oh no, not my thing. So it's a good way to see that.
What is the burn rate? Meaning, how many people do you lose?
We started at like, 22 kids in that class, and we have like 10 that show up now. So
That's actually pretty good. Though.
yeah.
Anything else? Cody?
I'd say the hardest thing is probably, like Jeremy said, you're in the first year or two, you don't have the field experience to even know what you're putting in. You're just an extra set of hands basically for your journeyman, and you're just trying to soak in as much as you can. I'm on the other end. I'm at the point now where I'm getting ready to take my state test. So it's like, after I get my license, I'm now going to have to know how to do this the right way. And the thing I love about it is, you see something and it's like, is that legal? Can you do that? Then you find it. You can go to class and ask questions, and the camaraderie, building off of not just the one person you're working with or the multiple people. You have a whole collection of people you can really bounce questions off of. But I would say the hardest thing for me, it was in the beginning getting thrown. It was like drinking from a fire hose in the beginning. And then at the end, now you're applying. If you apply yourself, that's the big one. You get what you put into it. I mean, union, non-union, it doesn't matter the trade. If you apply yourself, you'll be great at it.
So that's something interesting there, whether it's union or not. Any of the pre-apprentice or apprentice programs that you got right now, was there any moment where you said, yeah, they really missed the boat on it, or I wish they would have offered this? That's what I was expecting. You ever had those thoughts during your training? I see a lot of head shakes, so
I guess you're talking like union or?
No, I'm not talking about whether it's organized or not. I'm talking about things that you could have taught, like, maybe it's diversity training, maybe it's leadership, maybe it's things, business management. I don't know. Did you ever have an aha moment where you said, God, I wish they would have taught me that?
I mean, I would say money management is a big one, because I was taught how to manage money, but I honestly don't know what high schools do, because I know you make a pile of money in the beginning, and I can't. Almost every year, you could watch it. They get hired their first year, they go out and buy an $80,000 pickup. It's just. That's a gift. It's just exactly. So the average construction worker works 9 to 10 months a year. Layoffs are part of it. I've been fortunate that I haven't been in that boat, but I know it's coming to me. But you feast or famine. That's construction. That's just the industry. But I would say, as far as learning money management, as far as, how is there, I love my apprenticeship. There's parts of it that drive me nuts, but a journeyman said you get what you put into it. And that has stuck with me. And you learn something from everybody, good or bad. You learn something from everybody.
Couldn't agree more. How about you guys? What was that? Or have you got there yet?
I don't think I've got there yet.
Okay, that's fair. That's good. Jeremy?
I think it goes back to, you get what you put into it. And so if you do have that, oh man, I really wish they would have touched on that. It's kind of on you if you don't ever follow up, because you have all these resources, all those people there that you can ask and get that information. Or if it's something that you want taught, talk to your program instructor. There's lots of avenues to figure it out. And I think that's part of the thing is they want people who can be an adult. And I mean, you have to do that on the job site all the time. If you don't have the information, get the information. Got to figure out who to get it from. Get the correct information, then make it happen. So,
In other words, be the alpha.
yeah.
Anything else? Isaiah, Obi? So, speaking to the educators, whether they're in Zoom land here somewhere, how would you address concern that I feel from the education side of things about the lack of diversity in our trades? Is it intentional? Is it, obviously it's something we can improve upon. How would, if you were in charge of the industry, what would you do? I'm gonna go with Emily first. Look like you were thinking.
I'm thinking about it. That's a really tough one. I think that,
We were working up to the hard.
right, I know. I think that a lot of the lack of diversity has to do with tradition, and it kind of being like a boys club, you know. I think that it also has to come from like within. I think there needs to be guys asking their like nieces if they want to be in the trades, or like asking their neighbors, like just talking to everybody, and like being, as a community member, being willing to share your knowledge and recommendations with other community members. So I think it comes from within the trades too. We as tradespeople need to get the word out better.
Tell you a quick story. So I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and two of the boys are in the trades. And my daughter, who went to Atlanta and got her master's there, but in high school, I made her do a construction summer course where they were building things along the bike path, little enclosures and picnic tables. She had to do all the carpentry, and the boys kind of picked on her.
Mhm.
And she goes, you know, Dad, that was fun. I really don't want to do it next year. And then she wanted to go in the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps, you know, looked at her resume and said, you know, we're really looking for somebody in construction. And I said, well, you know, you have the Oregon Building Congress, you know, that 3-month expedition you did. And as soon as she put that on the resume, they took her. She went to Paraguay, where she built sewage and water systems. I mean, you're talking about poor. Paraguay is poor. It's beyond poor. But with great experience. And now it's a project manager, you know, and she's seen both sides of it. So you just got to get exposed to it. But anything else that any of you would add to increasing diversity in the construction industry? You look like you got something to say.
I think it all starts in school. I mean, if in school, you know, you have wood shop, I mean, get everybody involved. I mean, sometimes,
Bring back wood shop.
yes, that one was a good one. I didn't get it because I was slacking in that department. I decided to do other things, but I mean, it was, if they would make something like that a priority, not a priority, but something mandatory where everybody got to at least try it once, you know, for a semester. I mean, because there's a lot of times where you do something because somebody else is going to do it. So if you like doing wood shop, but your friends don't want to do it, then you're not going to do it to, you know, to be able to be with your friends. So, but if it's
Gotta have the coolest to it.
pretty much, so it's one of those things. If they made something like that, you know, a prerequisite, you know, then a lot more people might, you know, be interested in working with their hands. So.
You know, there are pros and cons. We've all talked about the pros of apprenticeship. There are criticisms. We won't ever take this. We're not going to do any directly. Anything that you would improve on or suggest, if you have the forum to do it, which is like right now. Addison, come on, you're right in there.
I'm thinking.
We'll come back to you. Jeremy?
I guess I'd like to see an opportunity for people who excel in certain areas of their apprenticeship to pursue that a little bit further. So
Speed it up. Or
no,
it's
to
an hour thing, right?
yeah, it's just have the ability to dive more in depth. Purely voluntary, but being able to actually, we do a small section on motor controls, and I thought motor controls were really fun. I'd like to spend more time doing it, doing conduit bending and craft certifications and, actual practical things at a classroom setting where you're not under the scrutiny of your journeyman and your boss going, hey, you need to have that done like 20 minutes ago. So in a classroom setting, being able to just dive a little bit deeper if you wanted to, I think would just be nice.
So it sounds like you've been exposed to productivity analysis.
Yes, I have.
Very important thing.
Mhm.
You're going to say something, aren't you?
Pretty similar. Just that there should be more hands-on in the classroom. Like my apprenticeship specifically, we have one Saturday class a month, and that's when we're in the shop working with metal. And I mean, obviously we work with metal every day in the field, but that opportunity to learn and like make mistakes without the product being on the line, I think is really valuable and should be on a more regular basis.
So nothing like screwing up some 16 gauge.
You're right. Yeah.
Isaiah?
I agree with both of them, just more hands-on in the classroom. Because once you're on the job site, you got to do it right the first time. You don't want to screw up something big time. So yeah, more hands-on.
Or tactile learning.
Yeah. More of an idea when you're on the job site.
Addison, have you thought about it?
Yes, more, oh, sorry, Lance. More like, for me, like understanding what it will actually be like with your first year class. I mean, after you, with like your first year class rather than like the pre-apprenticeship, because the beginning of the pre-apprenticeship, it was easy. I mean, like it's differently set up than the apprentices are. So then when we have a first year apprentice teacher come in, totally different style of teaching. It's lecture all day. And then rather than actually going through the stuff and then going and doing it hands-on, you sit there and you listen and you have to understand everything that you're taking in and then do everything that rather than what we would have done in the classroom, do it all by yourself online at home without the ability to ask the questions.
How many times have you heard, well, this is the way we've always done it? Isn't that very crazy? All right, so I'm going to open it up to questions out there. I see you look like you're ready to go. No, not you.
Are you looking at me?
Yes, I'm looking at
I have more of a comment, and maybe a question will come from this, but my name is Carla Clark, and I work at the Southern Oregon ESD, the Education Service District, and I run the Career Connected Learning Program and the STEM program, so we provide opportunities for students and teachers, classrooms to get connected to industry, putting equipment in the classroom, professional development for teachers. So one of the things that we do is help organize the educator externship here locally. And we've been looking at how do we provide follow-up support? How do we help our teachers? You know, we're hearing from industry on one end, we need people that know how to show up and go to work. We're having a struggle with having qualified people to show up and keep a job. And there's probably a whole lot of factors with that. And then we have our teachers on the other hand saying, well, we're just trying to meet the standards. We're doing everything we can. How do we bring both together? And I'm having a couple of aha moments here. And one of them is coming with, we're providing a training right now for high school teachers in math. And we're doing some applied work with that. So we're having those teachers take a look at real world examples for algebra and geometry and bring it into the classroom. And we're 3 months in, and during September, as one of our teacher leaders provided a construction example to the teachers for their homework and what to do. And they were looking at the problem of like how to build stairs with a lot of other details. I'm not the math teacher or the construction workers that can do all those details. But the reaction to that problem, and the teacher leader provided a 3-read process. Okay, so all of you teachers that are in the room, let's read it once, let's read the second time for vocabulary, and let's read the third time for what is known and what is unknown. And the feedback we got from those teachers was, oh my gosh, this is too hard. The math teachers the response was, I don't know if I have time to teach my students how to read. So that happened, and I'm listening to you guys talk about you've got to have reading and writing and arithmetic. It all works together. So if our students are struggling in math, they're probably struggling in reading. It works together. And you're saying loud and clear that is needed. I'm hearing that a little louder from you than I'm hearing, oh, you've got to have employability skills. That's probably a whole other topic. We probably do need employability skills.
That comes later.
But you've got to have the basics. I'm hearing you say you've got to have the basics. So I guess not a question, but a reflection on what.
You got to have a cornerstone.
Well, can I ask this to the panel? Where did you get your employability skills? And is it your motivation and not something that you learned in high school?
For me, I played sports throughout my life, and I think coachability is really, really important in employment, as well as the leadership component I talked about. But with sports and like being involved in extracurricular activities, you learn to work as a team, you learn to be able to take criticism, you learn to show up to practice on time. Like that was where a lot of that foundation came from for me.
Anyone else?
For me, I've always wanted to work. And so that is like my initial like motivation. And then slowly as time goes on, there's more things that buy into it that make me want it even more.
How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up on a ranch, and so working was not optional. It was you show up, you do it. And then again, you know, sports and everything that I've done put me in basically a point of responsibility where you take care of yourself and that's your only option. So I think it was nothing that I technically learned in a classroom setting, but it was something that was ingrained from the time I was 5 and started milking cows. So,
Got it.
yeah.
How about you, Isaiah?
I think I just learned it from just how I was raised. And working with my grandfather, because I would meet a lot of people. And I don't know. I think it's just the way I am. I don't know.
I thought what I heard earlier was the leadership. You know, it's something that's teachable. And, you know, whether or not you lose 50% of the participants, that's a good thing. So they haven't wasted their time. But the other 10. What other questions?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to share out, that really great to see diversity in the panel. I was in construction for 35 years. And so I do understand the challenges, same thing, went in school. I dropped out 7 times. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Took a welding class and a wood shop. And for me, that was all it took. And I would say to echo that the trades it feels like they're not promoted as much as they should be, but I think we're seeing a change maybe, and there's always that focus on these 4-year transfer pathways. And then what could we do from your perspective? I kind of shared a little bit about the college system, a couple of things. What could we do at the college system to make a difference and really help support diversity in the trades and across the realm of diversity on all levels? And then what could we do to promote better within the community about the opportunities in the trades? Like from your perspective, going through a lot, you talked about college, it wasn't for me. Was there anything in the college system we could have done to offer workshop or pre-trades to maybe support you?
Well, I actually went to RCC, and one of the things that I think could have helped is having a counselor or advisor who would actually be working with me, because I actually picked my own path and I only went and saw my advisor so I could go get my classes, but really didn't have a say or didn't offer anything to, oh, well, you could go this route or anything. So just showing that there are other options, because through the apprenticeship, we actually gain college credits. So even as you're doing your apprenticeship, you're working, you're getting paid, you're getting all of these things. You also have the ability to go on and continue your education and get degrees. So I had no idea about that. I just found out on my own.
So maybe a little bit more of a, in that counseling or advising end. And then also, did you feel like you support would have been beneficial to, once you're completed in the apprenticeship program, maybe to continue your skill building or that lifelong learning concept? For all of you, it's very physical. I know I was tired after 35 years and didn't want to walk on the highway and run equipment. But I did go back to school. So I'm currently a dean at RCC. I'm the dean of science, applied technology, and apprenticeship. So I did a complete flip. What could we do to support you in your goals and maybe your aspirations to move forward, maybe start a business, move into management? Is there anything you all would recommend that we could do at the colleges to support that? Your journey forward in your education.
I don't know how you would do it, but a lot of people from what I talk to that are a little farther ahead of me that have the 15, 20 years in, they're getting to the point. I mean, construction it wears your body out. And the old school is you go up the ladder and eventually you'll get to where you're not, a desk job, or maybe not, you're in the field, but you're pushing papers, you're still out, and it's easier on your body. Nowadays, that's
in theory.
Nowadays though, that's kind of college level. That's getting to, a project manager. I mean, you guys would probably know, I'm not there. I'm just going off of word of mouth.
We will be there.
But when somebody comes and says, well, I want to do something like this. Okay, well, first, in order to be good at it, you got to know the bottom part of it too. And that counts towards a college degree, just like Jeremy said, where, I don't know what type of degree, applied science or, but you can make your career longer by doing that. I know that, where you're not in the field for 40 years and your back's worn out, unless you protect yourself.
Right. Have any of you considered, once you're done and you have your journeyman card and you're done with the apprenticeship program, continuing on and, receiving your AAS or even another degree? Have any of you considered that?
No. Yeah.
No?
I have.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I figure it can't hurt. I'm already halfway there. I've got other degrees. Why not get another one?
Right.
If you're going to run a business, you better understand accounting.
That's right. Yeah. How about the question that a lot of you brought up? I was taking notes on my phone. You talked a little bit about that deeper dive, and then just kind of the pace of the program, which you have only so many, hours that you can complete everything. But that deeper dive, Andy and I have been talking about some open labs and some other opportunities to allow for that. So do you feel that would be an interest, because you're welding and maybe there's other areas you want to TIG, or maybe various areas in welding, maybe some manufacturing. You talked about like motor controls and conduit. Would you feel that would be beneficial? Let's say that new individuals moving into apprenticeship, or maybe while you're in the apprenticeship program, to have a deeper dive, maybe workshops, or can you share a little bit about that, what your interest would be on that?
I would definitely be interested in things like that. I feel like I'm at a point though where I don't even know what I don't know because I'm so new to the trade. But just like a little bit of like cross training would be nice even too. Cause like I'm a sheet metal worker, but it would be nice to know a little bit more of the electrical side of it, and like just more in depth within the trade.
Okay, well, that's a good answer. Thank you.
And to continue on that, I would like to see a lot more cross training as well. Because at least with the electrical, something we don't have a lot is working with other trades in school settings where, because we run into issues working with each other for everything. I mean, the duct's in my way, the vent pipe is right in the middle of where I need to. Exactly, yeah. So that's the thing, is there's a lot of issues that can be fixed in the actual real world application of it if we actually had more time to spend with other trades in a unified setting.
Whoever's in there last got the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
For the win.
Yeah, thank you all.
So does the panel have any questions for us? I say all of them.
I have a question too. I'm sorry, I wanted to be behind the scenes, but it's jumping out at me and I should have inserted it into the questions and I didn't. I was curious, how did you come to the program you're in now? And like, were there like barriers to access, or did you have to study? Like what, like if somebody else is going to want to replicate your path that you went along, like what would you do? What did you do? What were the challenges getting in, and how did you be successful in gaining access to the apprenticeship programs that you're in? Just popcorn.
Well, mine was because of, I did math, but I went 10 years into a different trade. So it was, I didn't use math really when I was a butcher. I mean, I went to an inch. You want a 1/4 inch steak or a 1/2 inch steak? Great, but it was, so when I started looking into, and I got married and had to support a family and, looking at the monetary situation, and it was, okay, college is not for me. I need to, pick a trade that's I can support a family on. And I'm a 4th generation plumber now. And so it was between plumbing and electrical. And, I looked at union and non-union, and it was, okay, I can go into the union as a plumber. It's still the family trade. It pays, I don't have any debt. I start off making $25 an hour with benefits after 90 days. And after 5 years, I get a degree and I'm making over 100 grand. And then as Jeremy, you want to go into a specific, I love orbital welding. I love, medical gas, or, the world's your oyster. I mean, you can go into one little field, or I know people that have certifications on everything and they're kind of a jack of all trade. I mean, they can do fit work, welding, plumbing, electrical. They got their low voltage license. I mean, this is just somebody that you would run in that they would call themselves a plumber. I mean,
Was it a competitive application process?
Yes. When I got in, nepotism was a big thing. So I had to, and I was rusty on my math. And that's what hurt me, was my math, specifically algebra. I mean, it was, you need algebra, and it's not hard, but you spend 1 month, refreshing up. That's what I had to do. Took a placement test and I was in. So
I'll throw in a shameless plug for AGC. So we've been members since 1965, 66. And you should encourage the people, and many of you are working for companies that are AGC members, but if they're not, you can still participate, but there's so many classes online. You're talking about, financial management. You're talking about project management, learning what the other trades are doing and what they're exposed to. There's huge generals, Hoffman, Anderson, they're all talking about what they look for in subcontract trades. But those types of things are free and available. It's all Zoom based. If there is a cost, it's pretty small. And I would highly suggest getting involved in AGC, because it's just not a political action committee. Okay, it's about promoting the industry, and it's not just concrete, it's everything. Okay. The other thing that you could do, and if you've ever heard of it, FMI, Fields Management Institute. Let's say you get your apprenticeship program, you've got RC, you got your degree. You want to get your master's in project management, or you want to get your master's in specific things, you can do it in about a year online with them. And it is one of the toughest courses you'll ever take. And we send our project managers to FMI, once a year on some other topic, and they always come back with this, wow, I didn't know, and so there's a lot of things out there. Because, you look at the high schools, they're probably having a difficult time finding people that understand construction. Okay, and it's going to take some time, but you need to start somewhere. But after your apprenticeship, look at things like that, because you may want to run a business someday.
I'd like to speak on that a little bit. I think that there is like a generalization that experience is required, or that you need to know things about construction to be in it. I didn't have any construction experience when I applied for my job. I just showed up to a temp office and I said, hey, I want to work in the trades. I don't have any experience. What can we do? And they pointed me in the right direction. And
They were probably shocked.
they were, but they pointed me in the right direction. I got an interview with Metal Masters, and I'm very pleased with where I'm at. And it's about willingness to learn, not necessarily prior knowledge.
Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Ralph? Yeah, STP. That's part of the AGC training, supervisory training program is the acronym.
My name's Ralph Henderson. I was the construction technology teacher at college for a couple of years, decades and millennia.
He was the guru of construction training.
It was the other thing is to remember that the credits that you can get through Road Community College can transfer to a career degree too. And in some cases, it's pretty easy. And it's because it used to, in the old days, you would have those credits and you'd go in and talk to Southern Oregon University or U of O or whoever, and they say, well, we got to start over.
Yeah, a lot less expensive now.
And it's a lot less expensive now. So one thing that I like to see, it sounds like something we're doing is just kind of building it on each success and having something that maybe you'll use, maybe you'll never apply those credits someplace else. But it's there. It's like one thing.
I will say that probably half of the subcontractors that we work with, in 9 states, probably got last year we probably had 400 or 500 subcontractors we work with. Just my guesstimate, probably half of them have a college degree, but they understand the HR side of things, they understand the accounting, but it takes time to learn that. So, but that's just the effort you got to put into it, after you punch the clock. That's my 2 bits.
I'll speak up. I'm Stacy Greer with Cascade Christian High School, also Road Workforce Partnership, Workforce Oregon-Columbia team. Rob and I, our pens have been going crazy back here because we're so excited about this whole thing, and we've done a lot over the years to try to inspire kids. This is the theme I'm hearing from all of you. Kids got to see it, they've got to try it, they've got to touch it, they got to know it's there, and that's what we all want. But so mine is not a question, more of a comment to all of us in the room. Our work is to get opportunities for kids to touch it, try it, cut it, saw it, read the blueprint, build the thing, weld it. But we got to work together and figure that out. And there's so many cool ways, but I don't know the answer. I mean, a dream would be, we're talking about a lab. We could have more labs in the apprenticeship program. Why not like an entire community lab where kids from all over can just come and try it all? I want to build a thing. I want to bend a piece of pipe. I want to see, because they don't really know. I mean,
You ever seen anything on Girl Build?
not girls build, but we were just reminiscing about women in trades when we did it here at RCC like 15 years ago. And all those middle school girls, holy cow, and they built remember the toolbox? They started in manufacturing. They went on SolidWorks, they made the design, they went on a CNC, they cut out the pieces of wood, they went down to your shop, they built the toolbox, and they got to take it home. And those little girls, they were middle school girls. That was cool. Like, can we do something like that again in our community game? That's getting kids excited.
I mean, I'll go back to Girls Build. I think it's 2nd or 3rd grade. It's almost like an after-school daycare type thing, but it's a quick training. But seeing these young girls get so excited, they're taking a cordless screwdriver and they're screwing something in the wood, it is so exciting. And they're like, it's so much fun, but that's what needs to be done. This should be fun. And it's not, it's perceived as really hard work, and that is some hard work. But, you know, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, get out of construction, because it's gonna be painful.
Hats off to the schools. There's a lot of high schools in Valley that have some amazing career technical ed offerings. Not all of them,
It needs
but
to happen in second and third grade.
it needs to happen earlier, I think, just so they know that it's cool and fun and what's to try it. Maybe they don't get the chance. And this idea about farm kids, there's a whole lot of farm kids in this valley, and a lot of them are plugged in, but a lot of them aren't. Like, how do we get those kids to try it? Those that's their naturals, right?
80% of my
Right.
employees.
4-H, FFA, county fairs, start hitting the ones that know how to work.
I love that. Like, if you guys could have a panel at the 4-H extension office, talking to those 4-H club kids about, here's a direction you can go. That's cool.
You know, to echo on that, you know, I think there's such a change needed in the education system. You know, back from even the 1950s, there was an emphasis on vocation and project-based, design-based learning, and then you standardized testing happened, and we just saw it shift. But I think that what we're talking about is because of the extreme gaps, decreases in labor force in the trades, you know, really something has to happen, and that is a great point. By the time you're a junior, senior, you know, that's really not the time. I mean, it's okay to offer support and guide you, but, you know, I love power tools. I have 2 shops. Like, I love tools. It's fun. But if you're not around that or not raised in that arena, you may not understand that. But to really return to our middle schools and start, you know, sharing that out is really important. I think we're just starting to late. The other thing is we have to, and Russ will probably, you know, agree with this, is we have to create that pathway. We have to build out the workforce again. And if we're waiting and catching people right at that end, or, you know, you spoke about some gaps, it's never going to happen. I mean, there's a huge decrease in, you know, masons. I mean, that's almost like a lost art. I read that for individuals in middle school and high school, there is, if I would, a 60% decrease in interest in the trades or something that's happening across the nation. So really, you know, it needs to be a collective effort, I think, for all of us, you know, community organizations, education systems, you know, really needs to happen, because the other thing is that, you know, the earn and learn model was a really, you know, a model again from back in the 1950s, and the war necessitated that. But they ended up having to upskill individuals, and even, you know, at that time, which was unusual, females had to go in and work and learn skills. I mean, you know, maybe they were building things that, you know, controversial, but hey, it happened. But that was our roots, that was our heritage, you know, was to really funnel and you know, support the trades. And I think that there's this myth that trades are, you know, blue collar. You have to work too hard, you get dirty. And I will guarantee you, I have a PhD now, and I will tell you, I made a lot more money when I owned a construction company than I do now. I'm not discounting the college, but Russ, you know.
Oh, that never happened.
Yeah, that never happened. But I was in control of my own destiny. And then you brought the satisfaction. I think that it's how we market the trades. I felt so satisfied when I got done. And there's some freeways and highways that I paved around here. It was so satisfying. I think some of you mentioned that after you got done. You look at it and you go, I did that. Like, that is a great day's work. So I think it's that messaging. And also, I hope that all of you will stay involved or communicate with us, because that peer piece is really important to share out your story and what's happening. I think it's important. But getting down into the, you know, getting it down into the, all of the grades, really kind of sharing out what the trades are and what they can be. Less debt, less time. Doesn't mean you're not going to go back to school, but in the end, there was an average, I don't have it. By the time you're, you know, your AA, if you're not working and earning your AA, your BA, you know, you're really 6 years. If you're out of commission, you're not in that working, you know, or that earn and learn model. It's a lot of money. So the trades you all can step in, get your journeyman card. That's equivalent, they say now, to a master's, right? But you can still go back and upskill, but you're making money while you're learning. And I think that's a model that we should share out more. So that's my spiel, my rant.
She tells you, gets out of that soapbox.
Oh, I know, I had to do it. I didn't have to saw myself, just have
Well, we're almost on up.
I have one thing, just really for everybody. I grew up at a time, as I'm sure most everybody else, did, where industrial arts and schools was born. And I don't know, from the panel, maybe if that's something that the county schools, private schools, whatever, would consider.
I don't even think they know what you mean by it.
Well, I'm talking about metal shop, wood shop, auto, all the above. You learn the basics. We built a house in Milton. We actually built a house in our wood shop in Milton. Plumbed it, put power in it, finished the whole thing. Everybody took a picture in front of it, and then we took a plot. And set the material aside for the next year to build, they were able to reuse most of the studs and trusses and whatnot. But if you can build a house, you can do a lot of things, from the ground up. Now, granted, there was one foundation, but we mud sealed it and made it look like that. I'm just asking you, as a collective in the valley, would it be wise to have an industrial arts center? Or each school bring those things back? Because, what I'm hearing from these guys, nobody even talked about it. They fell into it most.
And that's usually the path.
Right, but I'm saying, like you said, get them while they're young. The little second grade girl wants to run, use a cordless drill and run a screw and get all excited. I see my granddaughters. I just think, maybe we should think a little bit bigger.
From an education perspective, though, we get it to ourselves.
Yeah, we pushed everybody in college, and I heard the college material. Not everybody's college material, nor do they want to go to college. I mean, they get shoved into it and they get a degree that they can't use. Maybe we should push them to something that they can use instead of driving everybody into the system to get into debt. And RCC or the schools could help. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a collective center where all the kids come to learn the trade and see what a column looks like. And we're going up to, many videos of how to shake deck out, and how to, rebar, and all.
So for me, high school was not the time to try things. Middle school was not the time to try things. That was supposed to be your college. Your first year, second year of college was just how I was always told, that was your time to try it. Would have been much better to try it earlier. Middle school, going through high school.
I put you guys at a disadvantage. I'm
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah.
Where we were trying things earlier and going, that would be something I might want. It's always in the back of mind. Maybe you don't ever go back there,
But at least you know.
I went through the whole system. I mean, I can remember starting in grade or in middle school all the way to high school. It was just, those are the classes when you were allowed an electric, right? I don't know, just something to think about. I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to what's going on. It's like we left that ball on the 20-yard line.
It's actually, in my opinion, an easy fix. Because, I was talking with Senator White 2 weeks ago in DC, and, obviously he's pro-union and Biden supports the union. He needs to do a terrific job on, the licensed trades. Okay. In Vegas, they have this great carpentry shop. Okay, but when you look at the licensed trades, that's 90% of the market. Sure. And so why not put a tax on construction? $3 tax, $4 tax. Put it into the payroll. All goes to the schools. But it's a legislative act. And that's what it takes to get vocational education back into the system. Now that is a pretty tough sell.
And also, I went to 3 different high schools. I went to one in Michigan, one just south of Eugene, and then I went to Hidden Valley. The difference in all 3 of them was tremendous with what you were seeing trade-wise in the school. So,
Which was the best?
Crestwell, so south of Eugene. That was
Adult.
really that one. They have their construction class. Actually, the year after I left there, so it would have been my senior year. One of the female teachers, the female English teacher, she started a welding class. So then they had that, and you had all the girls who wanted to go into that because they had a teacher that was encouraging them and that they wanted to do that. So that was brought a lot more in. And then like Hidden Valley, I don't know how much they actually have there, but I went through an ag class there. So, but in Michigan, there wasn't. I mean, that was like,
That's surprising.
it was, with that school, it was focused on sports and arts in school, but it wasn't much trade wise. So there is such like a difference between
Was it northern Michigan or southern Michigan?
right smack dab in the middle. So it's so dependent on where you are. That can make a world of difference.
I have a question. I want to pause it to the room and then we can wrap up. Lunch is here early. We can eat early. But it's just kind of along the same lines of things I've been hearing discussed around getting there. So there was such a good job done by the high schools of pushing the college, and not just high schools. If you're going into kindergarten, hey, you're going to be in college someday. That now there's this thing, this mental model that permeates parents. If my kid doesn't go get a 4-year degree, my kid's a loser and I'm a failure as a parent. And I hear that a lot echoed throughout.
But it's true, isn't it?
I mean, that's what I hear. Quick side note, my husband and his 2 brothers are all in the trades. His 2 brothers, they have daughters, and their wives are convinced that their daughters will go to college. Even though they both freely admit, we have the lifestyle we have and can do the things we want to do because my husband is in the trade. But yet they don't see anything but a 4-year college degree plus a master's as an option for their daughters. And I'm like sitting over here, I've got a 2-year-old, and I'm like, he can go drive that, bulldozer, like, let's do this, right? So I'm curious, just thoughts in the room, thoughts from the panelists on, we're doing work in the schools, we're doing work with the students, it's gonna take some time to really show, but what about that 3rd tier of influence in kids' lives? What are your thoughts on parents and shifting that, it's 30 years of telling parents your kid needs to get a degree or they're a loser. How do we bring the parents along on this and maybe hear from the panelists first on that and then let the room contribute? That'd be great. Sorry, I'm interjecting all these wild cards out here.
So I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and I can say that in the trades, and specifically the union, it's one of the few things where men and women will make the exact same amount of money, not dependent on sex or your college education or anything else. You make the same. And that's one of the few things that you will actually see coming from the trades, is that your pay scale is determined by what the actual scale is, regardless of race, religion, anything else. And that's what I was told, was that it's women need to go to college because then they can compete for the same jobs as men working. And I mean, it's a total misconception for me, and the fact that you can make the same and it doesn't matter about anything is something I would try and just resound with.
Anything else?
I think it's interesting what she was saying, because the parents of these students that are pushing for college are the parents who were students when the school districts were pushing college. So it's carrying to a second generation.
You are what you eat. Anyway, good conversation. Thank you for, being open. Hopefully you won't have any reprimands for all your knocks against the apprenticeship. Thanks to RCC and all the guests.